Good evening. Today's daf is daf pei. We are going to begin daf ayin tes amid beis by the line starts with achareo tanan rabbanon. Okay, I want to also give a special thank you, a big shout out to the technical support. A big shout out, first of all, in the morning we have Shaiki Boaz and Avi Boaz who take care of all the technical to make sure that people hear the shirim clear, professional. And at night we have also Yos Safran, comes every night. He's what grade are you in? 6th grade, 7th grade? 6th grade. He's in 6th grade. He comes after school every night, and he can play sports and do other things. And he comes and he makes sure that the shir is live and broadcast. He's make sure it's professional. So we want to thank him very much. And again, we want to invite those who are following and watching the Siyum tomorrow. We're going to broadcast the live, as well as we're going to have a beautiful 3-course meal with music, good speakers. As we always do things, B'reiv Am, so please come, and looking forward to greeting you. 309 New York Avenue. Okay. Tanan rabbanon. Okay. Tanan rabbanon, we learned Dazay. We learned the Brayse. Isha nasasi b'medina siyam. A man says, I married a woman overseas. So now, maybe Raya la Isha, he has to bring proof with regards to the yuchsin of the woman, and but he does not require to bring proof with regards to the yuchsin of the children. Or maybe and he must bring proof with regards to the yuchsin of his adult children, but he's not required to bring proof with regard to the yuchsin of his ktanim children. Why? Because since their attachment to their mother as a parent, it can be assumed that they are her children. When does this apply? In the case of a man who is married to one woman. So a guy's married to one woman, and so he has to bring a riot about that it's his wife and she is good yuchsin. He does not need to bring a raya on the children, but on the gedolim he has to, but on the ketanim he doesn't have to. By one woman, but if when he is married to two women overseas, then maybe raya isha valabanim. He has to bring proof. He has to bring raya with regards to the yuchsin of both the woman and the children, with regards to the adult ones and regards to the ktanim ones.
He's married them off. What's the point of yuchsin? What's the idea of the yuchsin?
Want to make sure that this child is taka their children to know what the status is.
When they get married.
Yeah. So what's the word? Even if they cling to the woman whose yuchsin has been found to have been good, they might be the children of the other wife, and they just were raised by this girl. Okay. So tired. Okay. Omer Shlakish. Shlakish says as in. So he says, Lo yishanu ela b'kot shegvul. The Chachamim taught that the children's attachment to her proves that she's the mother only with regards to kotche gvul, only in regards to things which are, for example, truma, meaning that if she's the wife of the kain, her children can partake of truma. But with regard to yuchsin, the proof is not relied upon, and her daughters may not marry kainim. Shlakish says, afilu b'yuchsin, even with regards to yuchsin. Now, Ozda Rabbi Yehuda l'tamei. Rabbi Yehuda goes according. Ozda Rabbi Yechon tamei. Rabbi Yechon follows his reason. Amar Rabbi Yechon malkin al hachazokis. The Beis Din gives malchus one about whom witnesses testify that he was aver and aver on the basis of chazokis. In other words, even if there's no testimony to definitively establish that the person was aver, the Gemara is going to explain. But we rely on chazakis, and seiklin v'serfin ala chazakis, the Beis Din stones and burns upon whom witnesses testify that it was aver and avera resulting in capital punishment based on chazakis. Ve'ein serfin truma ala chazakis, but one does not burn truma on chazakis unless there's testimony that it became tummy. Now the Gemara explains malkan ala chazakis. What does it mean? The Beis Din gives malchus to somebody about whom witnesses testify that he was Aver and Aveda, Rabbi Yehuda. This is like Rabbi Yehuda says. He says that if a woman had amongst her neighbors the chazaka status of neither woman, and witnesses testify that her husband had relations with her. So the husband gets malchus due to her being a nida, and there's no need for testimony that she was a nida. Now, Seiklim is Serfin al Chazakas, the Beis Din stones and burns one about whom witnesses testify that he was over and aver resulting in, as we know, in capital punishment on the basis of Chazakas. Like Rabbi Bar Huna says, the Amr Rabbi Bar Huna, Ish v'isha tinik v'tineka shehiglu b'secha bayis. With regards to a man and a woman and a boy and a girl who grew up together in one home and as a single family, so the chazak is that they are related even when there's no testimony to the fact that. And therefore, neskalin zalza. Therefore, they are stoned due to having relations with one another. And when it's suffering zalza, and they also burned due to having relations with each other. If the man has relations with the female child, now an adult, she's considered his wife's daughter. Omer Shem ben Pasi, Omer Bishum ben Levi Mishum Kapora.
Was eigentlich von der Stoff? Die Skollen, Skilla. Wer bist du von der Stoff?
Baskain. Yeah. Ma'isibish Shbalu Shalaim Tining Murkav Loch Seifa. There was a story of involving a woman who came to Yerushalayim with a child riding on her shoulders, like a mother holds a son. And she raised him. And eventually they had relations. Eventually he had relations with her. And the Beis Din brought them to Beis Din and stoned them for violating an Isser against the mother and the son having relations. Now, not because he was definitely her son. They had no testimony to affect that. Because he clung to her, and he therefore had a chazaka that this was her son. Now, one does not burn truma on the basis of chazakas. Amar of Shimon Lakish, serfin al chazakas. He says serfin al chazakas. Yechlan Amar ain't serfin was l'tamei. Why? Now we learned in the Mishnah, tinik shenimtza b'tzada iso ubatzek biyodei. If a child who was tummy is found alongside Tardika dough, so then ubatzek biyodei. So what happened over here? You had a child who was tummy, and it's found alongside a piece of dough which is tar, and he has risen dough in his hand that he may have been removed from the larger portion of the starting dough. So the Meir says the dough is tar, since there's no proof that the child touched it, as he might have been given the piece by someone else. The Chacham say that it's tamei, as they assume that he touched the started dough.
And it could be the mother gave him a piece of dough to play with, and he has that dough. I'm not going to touch the big Isa.
Right. So what happened? You have Isa, and you have now Batzik Biyadi, and the child's holding something. So do we say that it's from there or from somewhere else? So the Meir is Matara, Chom Matama, why Shadaki, Shaltinik Litapech, because it's the man of a child to handle, to touch items. Those who have children will understand. Avinam ba, or small children, I should say. Avinam ba, and we asked, my time to the mayor. What's the reason of the mayor? Because Savar he holds reiv tinekes betapchen. The majority of children handle items. So in the case of the dough, they're within his reach. The isa becheskes tarim umiyot ein betapchen, and there's a minority who do not handle the items within reach. The isa becheskes tarim medis, and the dough itself retains the chazaka status of purity, since its impurity has not been definitively determined. Now, and if one has the minority of children who do not handle items within reach, to the chazaka status of dough, so the force of the majority of children who handles items within reach is weakened. So therefore the dough is considered pure. But Abanon miut command less domi. The Chachamim, they say that the minority is considered like it doesn't exist. So the machlekes between them is Ruba v'chazaka. So you have Reiv, you have chazaka. Where do you go? So he says Ruba, other if Ruba is better. Amr Yishlak Mishum Nebeishia. Zaysha Serfin Allah Satruma. The halacha of a child is an example of a chazaka that the children handle items within reach. that one burns truma based on it. Since the Chacham hold that it's established that the dough has become tamei to allow it to be burnt. Rabbi Yechon says, this is not the chazaka that burns truma based on it. Rather, the dough is set aside and may neither be eaten or burnt. Now, what is the chazaka that one burns truma based on it? So Gemara says, because it's not, we learned in the Mishnah and the Brisa. The Mishnah in a case where started dough it's in the house, and the shlotzim tzfardeim etaptim sham, and the creeping animals which impart tuma when dead, and frogs which do not impart tuma are also present there. And pieces were found in the starting dough. So imrev shlotzim, if the majority of creatures in the house are shlotzim, so tmei it's tummy. The dough is tummy. Now imrev tzfardeim, if the majority is frogs, then it is teida. It's teida. So he says there's a principle that when a possible case of tumah cannot be verified, even if it occurred in a Reshus HaYachid, when generally cases of suffix are deemed impure, this is deemed pure. Now, two things do not have the capacity to be questioned. One cannot verify what happened through Chakira. What's that? Chacham deem them as things that have the capacity to be questioned and render them tamei in cases of suffix in Reshus HaYachid. Tinek ve'edacheres. These are the child and additional halacha. Tinek, what's the case of tinek hadamana we just said? Concerning a child holding some dough discovered alongside the larger piece. Now all of the dough is deemed tamei since the child cannot be asked whether he touched it or not. Now what's the edacheres mahi? What's the additional one? Isa b'seich habayis. If, let's say, pure started dough was located inside the house, and chickens and impure liquids were present there, and there be found it couldn't be. So small holes in the dough where the chickens pecked at it. And in that case, the dough, so therefore tailoring is held in suspension. The echem lesurfim, we don't eat it and we don't burn it. Why? Since the chickens may have drunk from the tumah liquid before they pecked at the dough, there's no proof of this. So despite this case, it's a case where they cannot be asked, which generally will result in a dough which is deemed pure. Here is deemed tamei due to suffix. The fact that the second case of the Brisa is not deemed to be definitely impure, this supports Rabbi Yechon, who holds that in the case of the child, the status of the dough also remains a matter of suffix. Omer, you don't burn it. Throw it in the ocean, maybe? I don't remember. They only taught this halacha in the case of white liquids, when the appearance of the peck provides no proof whether the chickens had previously drunk from the liquid. In the case of red, if it's so that they had pecked, it would be known that they had drunk from the liquid, since the peck marks would be colored red. So the mask with Dilma Belatinu Isa. Perhaps the dough absorbed the liquid, leaving there's no mark there. So Rabbi Yechon, he says, I heard this matter, but I did not hear its interpretation. They taught this halacha only in the case of clear liquids, which can be absorbed in the dough without leaving a stain. It means that which the reflection of a child is recognizable when it appears to it. In the case of murky liquid, the halacha is lay, since the liquid would have not left a mark. Okay, now we go back to the new Mishnah, Daf Peyam and Beis, Lo Yisyachid. This is easy. Yeah, Dini Yuchad, exactly. Lo Yisyachid Adam im Shtei Noshim. A man may not be secluded with two women, maybe because lest he'll sin with them. Aval Isha Achas Misyachedes im Shtei Noshim. But one woman can be secluded with two men. Shimon Eimer Af Ish Echad Misyached im Shtei Noshim is man she'ishta imay. Shimon says even one man can be secluded with two women when his wife is with him. Yoshin imoin bipundoki, and in that situation he may even sleep in the same inn with two women because his wife guards him from sinning with them. Because the wife guards him. A man can be secluded with his mother and with his daughter and sleep alongside with them with bodily contact without clothes, because there's no concern that they're going to have relations. And when the son and the daughter have grown up, this one sleeps in her garment and that one sleeps in his garment, but they may share a bed. Now, my time, what's the reason that a man may not be secluded with two women, but a woman can be secluded with two men? Since women are of light mind, they are more easily seduced. From where do we know that there's usher for a man to be secluded with a woman? The pasuk says, it says, Ki if your brother, the son of your mother, entices you. Now, Yishmael asks why the Torah uses the son of your mother, ben imesis, ben of animasis, but is it only the son of a mother who entices? Doesn't the son of a father also entice? Rather, the pasuk is telling you that ben misyachadim imei, a son may be secluded with his mother, and it's also to be secluded with those with whom relations are forbidden by the Torah. Now, since this just tells us a remez of the Isra against Yichud, the Gemara asks, Pshat the Krab Maiksiv. With regards to the plain Pshat of the pasuk, what's written? So Abai says, "Let me buy Kamar." The pasuk is speaking like a let me buy ben of. It's not necessary to state that one should not be enticed by the son of his father. The son of Levi who hates him due to their rivalry of their father's inheritance, and therefore gives him bad advice. Ben aim. Rather, the same is true even the son of a mother. The who does not hate him, one might therefore say that he should listen to him and accept his advice, that he should not pay any attention, he should not pay to his to his enticements. Now, the Gemara says, name Masis and Abashol. Shall we say the mission is not according to the Abashol? The Tanya, we learned in a Braisa, if a child dies any time during the first 30 days after his birth, so he's, as we know, he's not given a burial, a funeral. He's not giving a proper funeral, but he's carried out, held in the chek, in the bosom, not on the bier, and buried by one woman and two men. But he may not be buried by one woman and by one man and two women. And Abashol, why? Because of Isra Yichud. Abashol says, he says he may even be buried by one man and two women. So what do we see from here? That Abashol deems it permitted for a man to be secluded with two women. So the Gemara says no. The time of mourning, the one's Yetzirah is broken to do sin, and there's no concern that he might come to do an Avera. Rabbanan Sarvada Rabbi Yitzchak, the Chachamim who say that Yichud is when Yichud would render the Yichud forbidden even then, he holds a What does the pasuk mean by saying, why does a living man complain and a powerful man due to his sins? Even at the time of a person's mourning, his Yitzhara overpowers him. Abashol will tell you, this pasuk is speaking about when was it written? It was written with regard to one who complains about Hashem's ways. And this is what he's saying. Why does one complain about Hashem's ways and claim that he had been treated unjustly? Has the overpowered by sins. Hashem responds, the life I have given him is sufficient for him and he deserves no more. And the Chachamim are concerned about the possibility of sin even in times of mourning. That he eats to have like this incident involving a certain woman, as there was an incident where she removed her husband from the grave. So he says over there, when visiting her husband's caver, she engaged in a relationship with a man who was tasked with guarding the body of one executed by the king. Meanwhile, the body was taken, and she suggested that they sin to her husband so that the guard could claim that he fulfilled his task properly. So this demonstrates that even at a time of mourning after her husband, one may succumb to some temptation. Now, the Mishnah teaches, afilu isha achas, but one woman may seclude with two men. This is in regards to kshedim. When it comes to people who are stooped in Zima, even 10 people not. Have a Maisa, there was an incident, we had this in Sait already, where there were 10 men carried out this woman as though she were dead and had a relationship with her. Rabbi Yosef says, Teida, know that since 10 men will join together and steal a heavy beam without being ashamed for one another, similarly several men can join together in relations without shame. Now the Gemara says, Dema Mesayeh Lei, shall we say that the following Mishnah supports him? Now it was taught with regards to the person who's bringing his wife as a Saita, brings him to the Beis HaMikdash, and they have the bitter waters. So the Mishnah says over there, they provide him with 2 Talmidei Chachamim. Maybe they'll have relations with her. Maybe he'll have relations with. It's not coming up. Okay, the Mishnah says like this. The Mishnah says over there that they provide 2 Talmidei Chachamim to accompany her, lest he engage in relations with her along the way. So what do we see from here? Talmidei Chacham in Shei Amalei. So we see that only Talmidei Chacham, regular people, are still concerned that they might have relations. We see that ordinary people are not relied on yichud. So the answer Shai Talmidei Chacham the other. No, over there Talmidei Chacham, they know Lasriya Bey how to warn, to engage in relations, since that would neutralize the effectiveness of the examination of the water. So they're there to warn. Okay, let's go a little bit further now because. We have some time. Okay. Amar Rabbi Yehud says like this: Lo yishanu ela be'ir. The Chacham taught that 2 men may seclude themselves. That 2 men may seclude themselves with 1 woman only in a city where others are present. But on the road, but on the road, it's not permitted unless there are 3. Now, why are 2 men insufficient on the road? Because he says, perhaps one of them will need to go to the bathroom, to urinate on the way, and it will turn out that one person will be secluded with a woman forbidden to him. So the Gemara says, shall we say that the Mishnah quoted above supports him? Today, it's mashma him, is 3, which is mashma that there's a requirement of 3 men when they are traveling. So the Gemara says, there's no proof, as there in the case of the Saita, there's a requirement for additional 2 men. Why? In order that they should serve as witnesses upon him to testify whether or not he had relations with her along the way. Rav and Rabbi Yehuda were walking along the way. And a certain woman was walking ahead of them. So Rav said to Rabbi Yehuda, Dal karich mikame Gehenim, raise your feet and walk quickly away from Gehenim, so that we do not remain secluded with her. Amar Lei, so Yehuda said to him, but didn't you say that it's permitted amongst the kshedim? So we have nothing to worry about. Amar Lei, so Rav said to him, who says that I refer to men fit such as you and me? So Yehuda said, so who did you have in mind? I said this about Rav Chanina bar Popov and his friends who have proven that they can withstand the Tahara. All people are not trusted in this matter. Amar Rav says like this: Malkin al Yichud, the Beis Din gives Malchus due to his being secluded with a woman. And Eisn al Yichud, but a wife is not forbidden to her husband. An unmarried woman is not usher for marrying a kohen due to Yichud, as it cannot be stated definitively that they secluded and they had relations. On Rashi says, we stated this halacha that one is giving malchus due to being secluded only with an unmarried woman. But with regards to secluding with a married woman, one is not giving malchus. Why not? So you should not have rumors spread concerning their children. If the secluded pair is giving malchus, everyone will assume that they had relations, and we will consider their children as mamzedim. And they just got and the only thing that happens is they got malchus. Okay, Mar Zutra, Malki and Machas. So Mar Zutra would give malchus. Mar Zutra would even give malchus a person who's secluded with a married woman, and would proclaim the reason for the punishment. Rav Nachman from Prati said to Rav Ashi, Mar nami likli b'lachis. Let the master also give malchus and proclaim the reason. Amalei, he could shami b'ha v'lishami b'ha. Why am I hesitant to do so? Because there's in case there are those who hear about this, about the malchus, and do not hear about the reason why he got the malchus. Okay, last thing. Amar Rav. Rav says, Malkin al loy teva shmo. The Beis Din gives malchus only due to his being the subject of a bad rumor, meaning that not only is a person giving malchus when the facts have been ascertained, but even when he has only reportedly committed, there's a rumor, and so we give malchus. Shenemar al bonei ki lo teva shmua. No, my sons, for there's no good report. Mazusha meisule afserei al kasvei umakrilei. Mazusha would give malchus to a person for being having a bad rumor on him, and he would place the bridle of a donkey on the person's shoulders and recite before him when giving the malchus, umakrilei al bonei. No, my sons. It's not good to have a bad report, so that people will know why he was giving malchus. Issue with the apple over here. Give me a second. Amar Rabba. Okay, so now the Gemara is going to continue about the dinim of malchus of somebody who's Eivor and Yichud, etc. Amar Rabba says, Baila be'ir, if a woman's husband is in town, ein cheshim mishum yuchud, there's no concern due to her being secluded with a man, because people are afraid to sin with her since they cannot be sure when her husband will return. Amar Rabbi S Greenwald says, Pesach pasul l'shus harabim, there's an open entrance to the shus harabim, there's no concern, ein cheshim mishum yuchud, there's no concern of yichud. Rabbi ikla lebei Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi arrived at Rabbi Yosef's house. Basar de krach rifta amar lahu. After he wrapped his bread and he ate his meal, he said to the members of his household, Shkuli darga metusi bivi. Remove the ladder from beneath Bivil, who was going to sleep in the upper stories, so that he will not be able to climb down due to the Isra of Yichud. Rabbi Yosef's wife. Ba'amar Rabba. But doesn't Rabba say in Chesh Mishum Yichud there's no concern? Rabbi is different, since Rabbi Yosef's wife was his friend and she was familiar with him, and therefore there was more cause for concern of relations. Amar Rav Kana says, he says, if the men are located on the outside, in the outer room, and the women in the inside, in the inner room, then there's no concern of yichud. But if the men is the inside and the woman is the outside, there's concern due to being yichud, since one of the men can claim that he is leaving and in fact joined the woman. Okay, the Gemara comments, "B'masnisa tana ibcha." The opposite was taught in a brisa. If the men are on the outside and the women are inside, so there is concern of yichud, as one of the men might go inside without being noticed. But if the men are inside and the women are outside, he knows that one of the other men might go through the woman's quarter at any time, and therefore there's no concern of yichud. So Rabbi says, Hashdam Rav Kana Hachi B'Tanim Asisna Ibcha. So therefore, Nav l'chumra, we have to go l'chumra b'yichud. Abaya doyer kulfi. Abaya would arrange rows of pitchers between the men and the women, so that they would not be able to cross from one mechitza. Rava doyer kanei. Rava would arrange rows of reeds to prevent mechitza. Amar Oven said, Skava the shaita rigla, the wound. In other words, the vulnerable place of the year is the rigla, since men and women would come together on joyous occasions, and this would lead to sin. Okay, the Gemara says like this: Hanach shuviyasa da'asan nardoi. Those captives, women who were brought to Nardoi, where they were redeemed, asikim lebei Rav Amram Chasida, were brought to the house of Rav Amram Chasida. Ashkelu darga mekamaya, they removed the ladder from before him to prevent men from climbing up after them to the attic where they were to sleep. Bahadi de kocholfe chodim minayin nofel nahir b'pumei. When one of them passed by the entrance of the upper chamber, it was as though a light shone like due to her great beauty. So what happened? Shokli Reb Amram l'darga kei dalia l'chudei. So Shokli Reb Amram l'darga tavichinu be'asar l'midlekei dalia l'chudei sok b'azi. So Reb Amram grabbed the ladder that 10 men together could not lift, and lifted it on his own and began climbing. Now, when he was halfway up the ladder, he strengthened his legs against the sides of the ladder to stop himself from climbing further. Ramakola, he raised his voice and cried out, Nura be Amram, there's a fire in the house of Amram. Upon hearing this, the Chachamim found him in that position. Amalei kaspitinan. He said to him, "You have embarrassed us, since everyone sees that you had intended what you had intended to do." It's better that you be shamed in Amram's house in this world and you not be ashamed in Elam Haba. Ashpe the Yimpika Mine, he took a shua that his Yitzhahara should emerge from him, but Nafak Mine ki Amud Nura, and similar to a pillar of fire emerged from him. Amarle, he said to the Yitzhahara, Da'at Nura Vano Bisra, see, you are fire and I am flesh, and I am superior to you as I was able to overcome you. Rav Meir have a mislates by Ivra Avera. Meir would he would like ridicule Ivra Avera by saying it too easy to avoid temptation. One day the Satan appeared to him as a woman standing on the other side of the river. And so there was no ferry to cross the river. He took a hold of rope bridge and crossed the river. When he reached halfway across the rope bridge, Amar, so across the river, the Yitzhar left him and said to him, Amar said, Ilav the ka machraze b'rekia, Yizoru b'Rebbe Meir v'seirase shavisi l'dmoch tarti me'ei. He said like this, were not for the fact that they proclaim about you in Shemayim, be careful with regards to the Meir and his Torah, I would have made your blood like 2 mo. In other words, completely worthless since you have fallen completely from your madrega. Rabbi Akiva, have a mislates. Rabbi Akiva would likewise ridicule Evra Aveda. One day a Satan appeared to him as a woman at the top of a palm tree. Rabbi Akiva grabbed hold of the palm tree and began climbing. When he was halfway on the palm tree, Yitzhar left him and said to him, Amar, he said, or if not for the fact that they proclaim about you in Shemayim, be careful with regards to Rabbi Akiva and his Teda, I would have made your blood like 2 mo. Okay, Plima have a yeah. Plima have a rogel memer koyema gira beina the Satan. Plima had the habit to say every day, an arrow in the eye of the Satan, mocking the temptation of Yitzhahara. Yema chad mali yema to kippur habit. One day in the eve of Yom Kippur, the Satan appeared to him as a pauper. Like a pauper. Also kra abova, and came and called him at the door. Apiku leirifta. Satan appeared to him so he brought out bread to him. So Satan said to him, on a day like today, everyone's inside eating and I shall stand outside to eat. So Plima brought him inside and gave him bread. So he said, a day like today, everyone is sitting at the table and I shall sit by myself. They brought him and sat him at the table. He was sitting and had covered himself with boils and pus, and he was doing repulsive things at the table. So Amalei Plima said to this ani, to this pauper, Tiv Shaper, sit properly and do not act in such a revolting manner. Amalei, so Satan said to him, Haveli Kasa, give me a cup. Yaveli Kasa, they gave him a cup. Ach Mishtei Kicha, he coughed up his phlegm and spat into the cup. Ach Mishadele Kicha, Nechare Bey. They berated him for acting this way, at which point the Satan pretended to shikoa mis, to sink and die. Shemahu dahave ka'amri plimik tal gavra. So they heard people around them saying, Plima killed a man, Plima katal gavra. So Plima fled and hid himself in the bathroom. Also Basrei, the Satan followed him. Nafal kamei, they fell before him. Upon seeing that Plima was suffering, he revealed himself to him. Amarle, the Satan said to him, My time, what is the reason that you spoke this way, provoking me by saying an arrow in the eye of the Satan? So he said, what should I have said? Let the master, Plima say, let the merciful one rebuke the Satan. Okay, so I think tomorrow, let me just think for a second.